Welcome to 50 Great Short Stories, and today our short story is called The Jockey. Let's get this started with. The Jockey is by a woman named Carson McCullers, and I'm sorry for the sideways thing, but my tripod is like a little on the fritz, so it's going to be sideways today, sort of, unless I get this fixed. There we go. Let's start off with 50 Great Short Stories. Now, 50 Great Short Stories, The Jockey. The Jockey is a runner. Just keep that in mind, like a person who runs in a marathon. That kind of jockey. Let's get this started with. Firstly, the story starts off like we assume it's after a marathon. And after a marathon happens and has taken place, this starts happening. Everyone decides that they're at a fancy hotel and they go ahead and have some dinner, like fancy dinner. They have like mashed potatoes, they have fried French fries, they have, cake, they have music, they have steak, the stuff you will find in a restaurant that's rated 5 stars. And if you somehow end up going to a 4-star restaurant and you find out it's actually -3 stars, check the review date. And then I find out that the review was sent literally 5 years ago, and the last review was sent 4 years ago, and it was -3 stars. Yeesh. Okay, so what happens next is all this criticism starts happening, all this criticism starts happening. Now, the guy's name is Bitsy Barlow, and he's in a bad mood because his friend, a fellow jockey, has been injured, and he's not here, and he's like, I really want and need that friend right now. How dare he leave me? And he's all like that, and then we actually kind of realize that these three that are our main characters here are basically talking about Bitsy Barlow and is basically his Irish friend. I believe he's Irish. They all happen to talk about him. They're like, hey, let's join him in here. No, what do you think? He's crazy. And the other guy's like, hey, he's not that crazy. Okay, also he has started losing his mind when he was like 6 months ago. And then eventually Bitsy Barlow just invites himself to the conversation. However, he's been very unsociable every time they try to pull him into the conversation. Wow. And then what happens next is just everything starts working out fine. In fact, 50 Great Short Stories. Here, I like the ideas of 50 Great Short Stories. All this starts happening, and the guy starts getting mad as he's already drunk, and he's drunk another Manhattan beer. And he's all like, and he starts criticizing them and also swearing at them, and one of them said, hey, be respectable, be reasonable, and he's like, reasonable, fool, I fool you, you guys are idiots. And it all happens, he grabs a bunch of fried potatoes, chews it up, and spats it on the floor. What a waste, in my opinion. Fried potatoes are the best. And they're like, fooey to you, I'm not gonna go up and be a good boy, I'm a bad boy. Got it, and he goes upstairs, and they're like, what the hell just happened? Until the cleaner comes in, and they didn't start talking until the waiter came in to clean the whole mess. Now, what's the whole point of this? In fact, I've actually had to read this 5 times to literally understand what it was probably meant. It was probably meant for, like, loneliness, because we eventually even find out that this guy's lonely. He's literally sitting by himself, like, doing nothing, being nothing. They're like, I can't do anything right now. Oh, that all happens. What happens next is just even more complicated too. Now, the thing about this, as I'm guessing that think before you act. Also, if that's not it, I'm going to have to say something else. Like maybe, don't get yourself spoiled. Don't get yourself like become unreasonable. Like just because your friend's injured doesn't mean that you have to act like a crazy lunatic person. Well, the good news is that most people don't actually do that. The second good news is that people are just people. They are people, and they will do what people have always done. Try to make problems and fix the problems too. Also, most of the time, they don't intentionally create the problems. They do it because they've got nothing else to do. And that's pretty much it. In my opinion, that's about it. But what do you learn from this? I myself actually still have little to no clue of what's supposed to be happening here too. Also, there are a few things that I'm going to have to mention here. Like if I look at this word that was mentioned here, and it is libertines, then that's actually a really interesting word to describe those 3 formal men. Because if you Google up libertine, you will end up with something like this, where it says, a person, especially a man who behaves without more moral principles or sense, or Yeah, or like responsibility, especially in actual matters, or is a person who rejects accepted opinions in matters of religion, a freethinker. To be honest, I think the first definition makes a bit more sense. However, if you go inside, there's actually not many more translations too. It's just a free thinker. Oh, so that's probably more in this case because actual advances are not literally in this book too. There's one thing I actually can learn from this is that you actually have to know when to respect your peers. Just because you don't agree with them doesn't mean you can't just go ahead and start spitting on them and doing whatever you want. No. So that's pretty much it. So hopefully you guys actually have enjoyed this episode. I really hope you guys did enjoy this episode, and I'll see you guys soon. Until next time, Shana out. Peace. Bye bye.